Hello, you are watching Shalom World News. I'm David Kirk from Lansing in Michigan, and these are your latest news headlines from around the world. A man is in custody after crashing a car at high speed through a gate into the Vatican on Thursday evening. The incident happened after 8 p.m. at the Santa Ana entrance to the Vatican city-state. Initially, a Swiss guard fired his gun at the vehicle's front tyres, hitting the left front fender, but the car continued to proceed into the Vatican grounds until the driver got out at the San Damaso courtyard. That's the main courtyard of the Vatican's Apostolic Palace. The other man was blocked and placed under arrest by the Vatican's Gendarmerie Corps. The Vatican press office say that the man is in his 40s and was in a state of psychological distress. Meanwhile, Pope Francis has expressed his grief after floods and landslides killed 14 people in the Emilia-Romagna region of northern Italy. The natural disasters have been caused by torrential rain in recent weeks. They've also left hundreds of people homeless. In a telegram of condolences, the Pope assured those who are grieving of his prayers for the deceased and his condolences to their families. He also prayed for God's comfort for the injured and expressed sympathy for those experiencing the effects of this grave calamity. A new report issued by the chairman of the US House of Representatives Judiciary Committee claims that the Federal Bureau of Investigation has been targeting Catholic dioceses and parishes, as well as pro-life groups and parents taking part in school board meetings. The report by Republican Congressman Jim Jordan of Ohio was released on Thursday. The report claims to be based on information given by over 24 FBI whistleblowers, 3 of whom gave evidence to the House committee this week. The report says that the FBI sought to use local religious organisations as, quote, new avenues for tripwire and source development. This proposed outreach plan included contacting so-called mainline Catholic parishes and the local diocesan leadership. Releasing the report, Congressman Jordan said, quote, if you're a parent attending a school board meeting, if you're a pro-lifer praying at a clinic, or you're a Catholic simply going to Mass, you are the target of the government, a target of the FBI. Congressman Jordan is now asking for answers from the leadership of the FBI. Meanwhile, most big corporations in the United States are failing when it comes to respecting religious liberty and freedom of speech. That's according to a new survey carried out by the advocacy group Alliance Defending Freedom. Their 2023 Viewpoint Diversity Score Business Index surveyed 75 of the biggest corporations in the US. It found that only 5 businesses have graded at 15% or better. ADF's senior counsel, Jeremy Tedesco, says the report shows how the threat to freedom doesn't just come from big government, but also from big business, and especially financial institutions and tech companies who've concentrated power over essential services and communication channels. Local officials in the Plateau state of north-central Nigeria are reporting that the death toll of a recent terror attack in the region has now risen to 80. The attack took place on Tuesday morning in 2 villages in Mangu local government area. Police say that they have now detained 7 people in connection with the killings. North-central Nigeria has been stricken in recent years by such terror attacks, often perpetrated by local Islamist Fulani herdsmen who opposed enclosed farming methods. Religious leaders in Scotland are jointly appealing to members of the Scottish Parliament to oppose legalising assisted suicide. Leaders from the Catholic Church, Church of Scotland and Islamic community met with parliamentarians on Thursday to express their opposition. The meeting was hosted by the think tank Logos Scotland. The religious leaders told the politicians how assisted suicide violates human dignity and pressures vulnerable people to end their lives. The Catholic Church in the United States is urging the US Department of Education to reject plans to allow male students who claim to be female to compete in girls' and women's sports in schools and colleges. The proposal in question seeks to alter the understanding of Title IX, that's the 1972 federal rules that require all entities in receipt of federal funds to prohibit sex discrimination in their education programs and activities. This week saw the Church express its opposition to any rule change to include so-called transgender athletes in a joint statement issued by the US Conference of Catholic Bishops, the National Catholic Educational Association and the Catholic University of America. The Nicaraguan government has announced the dissolution of the Immaculate Conception Catholic University of the Archdiocese of Managua. The university's closure is being seen as the latest attack upon the Catholic Church in the Latin American country, which is led by the dictatorship of President Daniel Ortega. His Sandinista regime said the university had failed to comply with regulations that require the publication of its financial statements and board of directors. Since December 2021, 19 universities nationwide have been shut down upon the orders of President Ortega. The Attorney General of New Jersey has filed a civil rights lawsuit against a school district, claiming its policies are unfair to those students who are homosexual or claim to be so-called transgender. Attorney General Matthew Platkin filed the lawsuit on Wednesday, arguing that Board Policy 8463 of the Hanover Township Board of Education mandates school staff inform parents if their son or daughter is homosexual or identifies as so-called transgender. The school district, however, say that the Attorney General is mischaracterising the policy, which they say only asks school staff to inform parents if they come across circumstances such as alcohol use, depression, self-harm or sexual activity that is having a negative impact on students. Russia and China continue to be the main suppliers of advanced weapons systems to the military junta in Myanmar. That's according to the United Nations Special Rapporteur for Myanmar, Tom Andrews. Speaking at a press conference at the UN headquarters in New York, Mr. Andrews said that Russia and China account for over $400 million and $260 million worth of arms sales respectively since the coup that brought the military to power in Myanmar in February 2021. Mr. Andrews also said that such weapons had likely been used in crimes against humanity and war crimes in Myanmar. Disability activists hope to challenge the United Kingdom's abortion laws in the European Court of Human Rights. Campaigners Mary-Leah Wilson and Heidi Crowther were recently denied permission to appeal the issue of selective abortions to the UK Supreme Court. Under the current laws, which apply across all the UK's countries, abortion is permitted up to 24 weeks for most reasons, but is available up to birth for children deemed to have a disability, including Down syndrome. Hence the desire by campaigners to take their case to Europe's highest human rights court, the European Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg. The bishops of the United States have announced plans for 4 national Eucharistic pilgrimages to converge upon the Church's National Eucharistic Congress, which is to be held in Indianapolis in May of next year. The pilgrimages consist of 4 cross-country Eucharistic processions, each lasting for 2 months and covering the entire nation. The organisers are describing the pilgrimages as Emmaus moments in reference to the walk of the risen Christ with 2 of his disciples in the wake of his passion, death and resurrection. The pilgrim paths will cover a combined distance of 6,500 miles, with each accompanied by a group of pilgrims, a chaplain and a support vehicle. Finally, American Christian actor Kirk is set to publish his second book for children. The release of the actor's new book, entitled Pride Comes Before the Fall, is set for June the 1st. It will be published by Brave Books, a conservative children's literature publisher, which also published Mr. Cameron's first book, entitled As You Grow. Well, that's your latest headlines for now. Do join us for more tomorrow. You can also join us at swnews.org for news updates. Shalom.